Good afternoon.
Afternoon. What's going on?
Not much. Today is Sunday. It was a nice relaxing day.
Yep.
And I went shopping, which was lovely.
Yep.
That's my update because we just recorded 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Well, an election was called in Canada today. So on April 28th, Canadians will be going to the polls.
Election, like the Canadian,
Yeah, federal
oh,
federal election.
cool.
So we'll see how that works. Used to get all worked up about that stuff, but I try not to now. So
That's good.
yeah, otherwise, new stuff. Not really. Busy at work. Working hard. Hardly working.
Yeah.
Studying AI. Learned some new stuff this week on my own. So having some fun doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Our platform's doing pretty good for the least amount of marketing I've been doing.
Well, I think once you get the shorts out there and stuff like that, and if we keep the content fun and mix it up every now and then, like when your younger sister comes, do some podcasts with her because she's always fun. Right?
Yeah.
So,
But thanks for listening to us.
Yeah.
If you're new or if you're listening to us weekly, bi-weekly, whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know if there's a topic that you are interested in, let us know, because I would be interested in it and I would love to talk about it.
Yeah, I would like to search some stuff up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so today I wanted to talk about something that Mom was talking to me about.
Uh-oh.
So you know the podcast that we did about you asking ChatGPT about aliens and gods and
Yes.
deity and is there a connection to all of that? But we actually never went into detail about what the original story was. Like the guy dying multiple times or like different experiences that people talk about after death, like experiencing death.
Yeah. Yeah. So this Japanese guy, and I can't remember, I'd have to look on my phone, which I'm not going to do right now. He had 3 near-death experiences, and so he talked about what each of them, the experience that he had. And then on the 4th one, it wasn't near death. He was dead. He didn't wake up.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah, and so he talked about that, and I read some books. There's a book that I read. I think I gave it or lent it to you. About this neuroscientist, right? This brain surgeon who went into all these details about why he was clinically brain dead. To the deepest state you can be brain dead until you're dead, right? So the people that would say, oh, near-death experiences where you see stuff after you quote unquote die, that's just brainwaves working. This guy was so deeply dead that he didn't have any brainwaves working. And he goes through all the detail about it. And so what he saw couldn't have been, brainwaves. So, and he talks about this experience that he had. What the hell was the name of the book? I'll have to find it. I lent it to you. It might be upstairs. Anyway.
I don't remember reading it.
And he talks about the experience that he had and where he went and the transition from life on Earth to life in wherever he went to.
Yeah.
He talked about how you fly or move at the speed of light and all these other things. And it was really interesting. And the Japanese guy also talked about this, but the interesting thing is that culture matters, apparently. Right? So depending on your culture, your religious background will determine the experience that you have in a near-death experience.
Interesting.
Well, it is interesting. Why is it interesting to you?
So, after that podcast, I've been thinking more about it. Just because it is a mystery to everybody, and those that are interested want to know what the answers are or in constant search of answers.
Some people do, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not looking for an answer, but I'm looking just for something to talk about with you, but also it's just in my mind. I remember watching a movie. Don't know what it's called. I remember watching a movie and it has left an impact on me.
What's the movie?
And the scene that I remember was, I guess it was like gates of heaven or just like just a gate. And I remember this person, the character Angel whatever it was standing there. And when somebody died and went to that, like the door, the gates, the reception, the person will say, "What did you believe in?" Or "What religion did you belong into?" I don't remember the exact wording because it was so
Those are
long
not the
ago.
same thing, but anyway,
It
yeah.
was something like that. And this
What
person,
tradition were you, and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff? Okay.
and depending on the person's answer, someone would be like, "Oh, I was a Christian," or "I was an atheist," or I don't know,
Muslim, Jew, whatever,
Satanist,
Buddhist,
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Then they would say, "Because you believed in this, you will go to this. This will be your ending," and they'll open the door to
That realm
heaven
or whatever,
or
yeah.
something. And that had left a big impact on me because I was like, "Wait, what if after death, after we die, it's something like that where you end up in a place that you believed in while being here on Earth?"
It would certainly be more comfortable, wouldn't it?
It would be. But that has left an impact on me. And when I was going through religious crisis, I was like, I can't become an atheist because then I will become nothing if that's the case. So I didn't want to become nothing.
Mm.
So that has left an impact on me. Would I find a religion now? No. But I believe in higher power, whatever that is.
Well, what's interesting is that if you look and read about near-death experiences across culture, tradition, and religion, um, the near-death experiences all closely match the tradition that the person who had the NDE was born in, or believed in at the time, right? So if there is one universal savior or one universal religion, what you would expect is that no matter the time, place, culture, belief system, tradition that you were born into or raised or practiced, that the NDE, the near death experience, would be the same for everybody. That's what you would expect, but it's not.
It's not. No.
There are similarities in what happens to people, the light, the tunnel, that kind of thing, and this transition from body to spirit. This is very similar across the experiences. And you can Google or Perplexity, or you can search those up yourself. But what is not similar is the people that you meet and the religious undertones of the experience that you have once you do meet people or get questioned about your life. That all changes.
Yeah. There was a video, an interview of a Japanese guy who um, himself.
Yeah.
And he wanted to exit, and so he did it by rope around
Whatever you did.
yeah, and he survived.
Oh
And
yeah, I know this. I know the
yeah,
story you're talking
I'm
about.
just gonna let the audience know he survived. For
He was unsuccessful in his attempt to
some
unalive himself.
reason,
Yeah.
the rope that he used was cut.
Yeah. It broke. Yeah.
It broke. And to this day, he doesn't know what happened or how it happened. But his experience was him leaving his body, like he floated out of his body, and he moved faster.
That type of thing is similar across all cultures, by
Yeah.
the way.
And that he moved faster than the speed of light is what he
Also
had
similar
claimed.
across culture.
Yeah. And then he had his experience of, he was 30 years old, and he said that he was forced to watch 30 years of his life, frame by frame, second by second. So he technically lived another 30.
Also common beyond culture
Yeah.
boundaries.
He lived an extra, quote unquote, lived an extra 30 years. So he said he was like, he should have been 30 years older, but he wanted to live again. And for somehow he was able to make it back into his body, and he now shares his experience, which is interesting. I'm not trying to convert anybody, but he just talks about it because it's something interesting, and not everybody gets to experience it, and people are interested in it. And I told this to everybody around me, but I had an experience where I left my body, and I remember, was it you, or maybe it was Grandpa, my Japanese one, Who doesn't believe believe me? But I had an experience where I left my body
Hmm.
and I saw myself, and it was an interesting experience. I didn't do
But it
anything.
was yours was not a near death
No, I
experience.
was just sleeping. I was literally sleeping at my grandparents' place on the tatami floor. It was middle of the night, and I remember opening my eyes and I wanted to see what time it was. And my phone was um, like above my head.
Mm.
So I was gonna reach for my phone, but I couldn't pick it up. So I thought maybe I was in a dream or something. And so I was like, oh, that's weird. Maybe I'm missing it. So I thought I could just like go up on my elbow, turn on one side, and pick it up, but I couldn't. I got up, but I couldn't pick it up. So then I sat up instead to see what the heck is happening. And I went, my body went through the blanket, and I'm sitting up perfectly 90 degrees. And turn around and I see myself
Mm.
sleeping.
Interesting.
I did not leave my body because I have never heard of this experience before because I was in high school. I didn't know this was something that somebody experiences.
Mm.
I just saw it in movies. So if I experience it today, maybe I might walk around and see what the
Check things out.
yeah, what the fuss is about. But then I was scared, so I laid back down. Um, and then I woke up.
Mm. Interesting.
It was a very interesting experience, but I didn't feel any panic.
Well, that's actually interesting because if you read about people that have had near death experiences, most of the time uh, they know they're dying, but they're not scared,
Hmm.
which I found interesting. Right. So I think before you get to that place, you might be nervous. Pe- People are anxious. So if you go into a hospice or a hospital where somebody is dying, they often fill you full of drugs, anti-anxiety drugs, because people get anxious about dying.
Hmm.
Uh, but from the ND stories that I've read and researched uh, quite a few years ago now, um, yeah, people that know they're dying and are told they're dying and then have passed over, they're comfortable with that fact because they see it as for what it is a transition,
Hmm.
right? It's not the end; it's transition,
Hmm.
right? Um, so, uh, so I find that interesting. Like people say, we came from nothing, we lived, and we're going to go back to nothing. Nothing doesn't produce something,
Yes,
and we are something.
I agree. Yes.
So nothing produce something, go back to nothing is not only is it scientific, but it doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
So you're either an energy converted into what we are today, converted back into an energy, or you transcend something. So that would make sense to me. Um, what it's like on the other side of whatever, who knows. But I would, as you watch people die, as I've done a few times, and they're given these anti-anxiety meds, you wonder if that was me, would I need those anti-anxiety meds?
Oh. Hmm.
Would I try and I don't know that people need them because they're conscious of needing them, but people get nervous, right? They get
Hmm.
nervous. So who knows?
I also heard stories that like people that work at hospices,
Mm-hmm.
is that a plural?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they've witnessed multiple times where the person will see a loved one
Yeah,
and
some
will
people.
talk
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
to them, which is, is that loved one
Yeah, is it the
actually
drugs
there,
or
or
is it? Yeah.
or is it all brain chemicals acting up, or I have no idea. But I wanted to just talk about this today because it was on my mind.
Well,
So why not?
here's a conundrum, right? We know through modern science that we can change the chemical balances of the brain, the hormonal balance of the brain, and we can shut people's brains down. We can turn them on. We can make people hallucinate. We can change chemical imbalance so that they don't suffer from certain uh, hormone and chemical imbalances. Right? We know that. And so there is an argument definitely for saying that having these experiences could be chemical or hormonally induced. And so then when your hormones and chemicals in your brain are going screwy just before you're going to die, so you might hallucinate, or the drugs make you hallucinate. So there is definitely an argument for that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good argument. It the I think the trouble with so good arguments. Here's the trouble with a lot of arguments that have to do with, and I'm not saying trouble is in one way or the other, but I'm saying if things that we experience are chemically or hormonally induced, okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have a chemical imbalance in your head, you have a hormonal imbalance in your body. The chemical one in your brain causes you to become a certain type of person, susceptible to committing crimes, susceptible to drinking, susceptible to whatever. It would bring to pass the real question of, you know, since is anybody really culpable for the things that they do in this life? In this life,
Mm.
do you know what I'm saying? So
Like,
so let's say in let's use normal society, Christianity, um, uh, Christianity based society like North America is. You say, well, it's wrong to steal, right? But if you have a chemical imbalance brought on by whatever, and you're not, doctors aren't aware, or maybe it's subtle enough that they don't know, but it's still something that you deal with. Uh, but nobody knows about. Are you held like, if there's a God, does that God hold you responsible, or is it the chemical imbalance? Like, what's to blame? Who's to blame? How do you assign sin? How do you forgive sin?
mm-mm.
That's where I'm going.
Ah,
See what I'm saying?
oh, I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
I have no idea.
right? We know that people, that unalive people, on a mass scale, their heads are weird. They have chemical imbalance. So is the chemical imbalance to blame, or is the choice that they weren't strong enough to make a choice, the right choice, notwithstanding the chemical imbalance? So these bring up all sorts of weird discussions,
Mm-hmm.
not only around, our near-death experiences are real, but what role does all of these type of visions? The science would say it's chemicals. Religion would say it's true transcendence. But what role does all of this really play into the human condition? And can we ever decide it? And is anything ever right or wrong? Um, and it is, I believe it is. But how do we hold people accountable? And as science progresses, will there come a time when we can completely balance hormones, chemicals, and other things in people's minds and brains so that they never want to commit crime ever again? And then if
Mm.
we can regulate to that extent, don't want to commit crime, don't want to steal, what else can we regulate?
But doesn't that kind of
I'm
get rid
just
of free
I'm
will?
just saying, if you're able enough to regulate a great many things, when does it overstep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, this I think this will become a conundrum in the near future.
Mm.
I,
Yeah.
I, I think it will, right?
Yeah.
There's an old Star Trek movie where this guy's suffering from the future Star Trek folks went into the past, and they happened to be in a hospital, and this guy was suffering from something, and the doctor gave him a shot of whatever, and it cured him.
Mm.
Okay, so if we're able to get to that point where it's not only physical but chemical imbalance, other things, um, to what point are we um, controlling rather than any, like, controlling rather than letting people live their free will?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is the chemical imbalance something that we should just let people suffer with or deal with, or should we fix it, quote unquote fix,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
I'm just saying. If you knew a mass murderer, nobody would say, hey, this mass murderer has a chemical imbalance in his brain. Let's balance it out so he's not a mass murderer. There's nobody on earth that would say, yeah, we shouldn't do that.
Hmm.
Should we? Bring it to another stage. Hey, this kid has ADHD, whatever, ADHD, I'm just making this up. This kid has ADHD. We now know that we can regulate his hormones and brain chemicals so he doesn't have ADHD anymore. Right? Won't be the same kid that we grew up and loved, but he's 14 now. Let's give him these drugs, right? They're not natural. We're going to change his body chemistry with drugs so he doesn't have ADHD anymore. How many people would argue with that? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The principle goes right out the window. And now we're making a judgment call on which thing to treat when, because of, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting questions, I think. Nobody would argue with the mass murderer. Some people would have a good case for transgender, kids with severe ADHD, and whatever else, right? Well, okay. You open up a can of worms when you try to treat when you open up a can of worms.
Who are we to judge or play God? Like,
Yeah, but we do, and we're doing it all the time.
yes, and I don't agree nor disagree to this because this is a very hard
Well, no,
topic.
we as human beings love to make God in our own image, and that means we make ourselves God. So we begin to formulate areas of human lives where we will play God, and other areas of human life where we could play God, but we won't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So as we get further and further down the rabbit hole into science and the capabilities of science, you're going to have more and more clashes.
Mm-hmm.
How it works itself out, I don't know. But there needs to be a framework. Or, if we're going to treat this, if we're going to play God over here, why aren't we going to play God over here? And if this person can't make a choice because of so and such, why do we say this person can?
Mm-hmm.
And if this person has these problems and we can fix it, how come we won't help this person?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they committed a heinous crime. Maybe this person just has whatever issues. So we'll treat this person. We could treat this person, but we're not going to because they committed a heinous crime and they should suffer for it.
Well, then, if let's say that chemical comes out, and to make it easy, no side effects. Okay, to make it as easy as possible, no side effects. One way to use it is before any crime happens, you can use it on somebody.
So pre-crime. So now you're pre-criming people.
Oh. Yeah, but if your chemical is imbalanced, or if one part of your brain isn't,
Well, now you're balancing
turning on.
chemicals. Yes,
Yeah.
I get it.
then you're preventing something, or maybe preventing something.
Which is what drugs do today. They try to balance out chemicals inside people with certain chemically induced depression, hormonally induced depression, stuff like that, right? But what I'm saying is, if somebody unalives somebody because of a severe chemical imbalance, do we do the same thing we do with the kids or people over here that have behavior issues? Do we help them out and let them out of prison now? We help them. We're able to regulate, just like these guys over here. Do we help them? Do we say, well, you had a chemical imbalance, that's why you unalived that person. Here, we're going to help you chemically imbalance. You can come out of prison now.
You know what would be more torturous?
What?
You balance out their chemical,
And
So-
they still do it?
and you keep them in prison. So then there's more guilt or more
Well, that's what I'm saying.
remorse.
Well, the worst case is you balance out their chemicals and they still decide to do. Then they're
Just
true
crazy,
lunatics,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
That's right. But that's the conundrum. If you were born blind, would you, and science, which is coming, and science could enable you to see, would you want to see?
I have no idea. You
So
would have to
so
ask a blind person.
so there are some people that would say no, and there are many that would say yes. If you're if you um, if you couldn't hear and from birth or even after accident, or and now science could make it so you could hear, would you want to hear? Most people would say yes, but there are some that would say no. This is how God made me.
Mm. Mm.
Right? God didn't help man create the science, right? So there's all these different aspects. It gets more and more difficult when it moves beyond a personal choice into a choice that society is making about a group of people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then so then that leads me, I don't know why my mind went there. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Where do these, let's just say like negative, let's just keep it negative. Where do these negative energies even come from if they weren't even, I know they could be like you can change it, like you can, you know, you can change the energy if that makes sense. But like alter it, but you can't create nor destroy it. So where did this negative energy even start from? Where did it even come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, if you're feeling negative, you can certainly make a choice to turn that around and be positive. And so you're saying, how did the negative energy? I don't think I don't think the negative energy went anywhere. I think it was just converted to positive energy. That's
But
all.
how, like, isn't it, who was the first being or person to what created that negative energy? What started it all? Because people are always talking about being positive. Positive is good, and yeah, negative balance out the positive. But who created this this energy of wanting to, mass shooting, wanting to destroy somebody else's life? Who or what started it all? What energy?
Yeah,
It's very
again,
interesting.
I don't know. I don't know. All as I know, all as I, is that a word? All I know is, um, people that do those heinous things have severe mental, chemical, hormonal, situational, environmental challenges,
Mm.
right? Um, yeah, I don't know too much about all that energy stuff, but I do know that thinking about how we go about fixing it is the thing that brings up the challenges,
Yes. Yeah.
right? The thing about bucketizing, we're going to fix this person and not this person, or allow this person an excuse but not this person, right? That's what brings up the challenges.
Yeah.
And I think, well, yeah, I mean, we have the we have the possibility now, potential now. Um, what was the movie called where they took turns dying to go into the afterlife? What the hell was that movie called? It was a movie
Oh,
when
I
I
know
was a kid.
exactly what you're talking about. They had like a recent one
They
too.
remade it, right? So I'm thinking in the future that science would be able to do that easily, without too
Yeah.
much risk.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe to take a glimpse. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be weird if they brought some evil back to ruin your neighborhood.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. But anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today
Hmm.
because that last podcast really sparked an interest in mom talking about that guy's in afterlife experience, and so it was just on my mind. You
Yeah.
let me know the books and stuff, and I can just link it down below,
Okay.
or not link it, but I'll put in the description
Okay.
if I remember to.
You will. I'll remind you.
Okay. But thank you for chatting with me today. A really quick podcast because you have to make dinner. But yeah, let us know what you would like us to talk about. If you heard anything, if you have opinions,
Awesome.
let's keep it that. I don't know. Let's stop there. But give us a like, Share it with your friends and family and leave a comment. And we will see you on our next one. Goodbye.